everyone, so this month for our coloured pencil tutorial we're going to be doing a cluster of blackberries. So the blackberries aren't out at the moment, obviously it's too early in the year where I am anyway. They may be where you are, but so these are from some photographs that I took last year, and it's really nice because we've got a red one here, a very immature one, so it's sort of a pale pinky red here, and then we've got the mixed colour, so it's just turning to black in the top one, and then we've got a full black one at the bottom. So we've got all the different colours going on in there. Right, so let's go and get our pencils sharpened and let's make a start. Right, okay, so first of all we're going to start on the pale red fruit, and we are going to put in the those little sort of hairy structures first that we can see. So we've got a couple down here, I've got one at the top there. So I'm just tapping away the graphite. Let's get rid of it. A little bit here. Okay, just a little bit more there. Right, so what I'm going to do to put these on is I'm just going to use a cream pencil for the moment. So that's, no, I'm not, I'm using ivory. I always do this, if you've watched my videos, I always get cream and ivory mixed up for some reason. So we're using 103, so it's ivory, and it's really sharp. So I'm just going to push in as if I were embossing. Try not to break the tip, and just push in to those little bits there. Okay, so what this will do is, one, it will emboss it, so our pencils will skip over it, but also we're going to put a little bit of bistre on it afterwards, and it'll keep the colour nice and light when we put that bistre on. But you have to make sure your pencil's really nice and sharp for this. So let's just make sure we've done them all on there. Yep, we have. Lovely. Right, okie dokie. Right, okay, so the next thing we're going to do is we're going to start putting our darkest colours down now. So we've got a tiny little bit of the blackberry here, which is quite a deep red. A little bit of a notch in there. So we're going to get our deepest colours down first. So I'm just going to lift the graphite from here to do that little one there. So just gently lifting the excess. I don't want my outline to go, I just want to have a ghost of an outline so I can still see where I'm going. Don't worry about going over that cream, it's absolutely fine. Okie dokie, and the first colour we're using is dark red, which is 225. Now we may need to go slightly deeper, we'll see how we get on. So let's get in there, so nice and sharp, and just pulling this through at this little segment at the back here. So it's quite a small area. Just there, okay, and then we've got a little bit of depth just in here, so I'm just popping a little bit in there. We may very well need to come back and add some Caput Mortem violet or some red violet just to make things deep enough, and we're going to add a little bit just in here into that segment there. Okay, so we're going to go to our next colour, which is alizarin crimson, number 226, and we're going to work across the whole berry now and start putting down some of our darkest colours. Now we need to bear in mind that to get the lovely shine on this, we need some high contrast, so our whites need to stay white, and we need to make them stand out and pop. So we'll start on this bit here. So on blackberries, the little segments are called drupelets. which is a lovely name. So each little segment is a druplet. So let's come around here, looking at the highlight that we've got, and I'm using a sharp pencil and light pressure. And don't forget we've got our little hair-like structure there, so I'm just going to come around the edge of it and just pop this little bit of alizarin crimson in here. Okay. So we're looking out for just the darkest areas of the fruit. So we can pop a little bit of this down the center of this one. And we can come into the dip there. Just coming around. So just take a good look, because I haven't put on all of the markings for the highlights. And the reason is because it's going to make you more observant. You really need to be watching your reference. So whether you're drawing from life, if you've decided to go out and buy some blackberries, or whether you're drawing from the photograph, you really need to pay attention and watch where you're going. Okie dokie, so let's come to the next little section. Just using small circular motions. This little line up the center where it dips in. And then I'm just fading out as I move into the lighter areas. So I can come around the top for this top little druplet. Okay. And again, we've got sort of a depression there. So yeah, to get the good form on these, we need good contrast, good lighting. And everything to be as it should be. Now if you need to sharpen your pencils at any time, just go ahead and do that. I've still got a bit of a sharp point here, so I'm okay for now. Okay, let's just carry on round. We've got a little bit of a sort of bit of something going on in there. Just coming round here. So I'm pressing just slightly harder in that sort of shadow area there, where they join together. Okay. And then again, we've got a Little depression there. Come around here and just start to lighten the pressure a bit more. Bring a little bit around the top there. It's taken into account there's also reflected light as well. So even though things aren't perfectly white, we've also got these little bits of reflected light around the edges. I've got a nice strong highlight there. So let's come around that. And a bit of a dip there. So good observational studies. This makes a good observational study when you've got lots of areas of light and shade. Very good practice. Let's move to this outer bit here. Okay, so just working our way around the whole blackberry. Get a little bit of depth here. Comes out there around that little bit that we put on with the cream, and I'm just going to come down the sides of it there. Keep this bit nice and pale. Just to those sides. And then we've got a sort of ring around it, and then a little bit of depth at the back there. Okay, this one's pretty light, this little drooplet. So I'm just coming around here, and again we've got this indent just here. A little bit of depth around there. And it comes around. Okay. So just neatening up any edges that could do with it here as we go around. Just going to bring a little bit of this over that darker edge there. Now we're coming to the underside here. And we could probably do with a little bit of the darker red in here, or some caput mortem violet. We'll bring that in a second. Let's just continue with where we are. Again, watching out for that reflected light. And we've got quite a highlight just in there. Okay, and onto the last little segment there. So we can come around our little hair-like structure. And down either side. Take a little bit of this around there, around that corner, and I just want to neaten up that edge there. Right, okie dokie. Okay, so I'm going to take some Caput Morton Violet now, and I'm just going to pop this in the dark areas. So just a little bit here. So just help to make things stand out a little bit. I'm going to bring a little bit of this into here and over there and a little bit around here, so we can see this is just starting to change colour there, a bit at the edge. Just coming around. I'm going to take it into this section here. Just there. Okay. We're going to have a little tiny bit just in here. We can see something dark going on there. Just make sure that my lines are correct, and there's a little bit just in here. Let's have a look. We can have a little bit in here. Oh, and I missed this one out, so let's put a tiny little bit of Caput there. And then we'll go back to our alizarin crimson in a second. So just looking out for the very, very darkest areas. Okay, let's take our alizarin crimson again. Let's come back to this one. Just miss that tiny little segment off. There we go. Okay. Right, so the next colour we're going to take is Pink Carmine, and that's number 127. And what we're going to do is we're going to go over all of that alizarin crimson and start working into the light areas. So let's start on that little one that I missed off. Okay, just start working around. Now let's have a look here. So you can just start coming around nice and gently. And start leaving those highlights. Keep the pressure nice and light when we're working out into those paler areas. Can close this one up a little bit, it's a little bit shorter than that. Okay, let's go to some at the top. You can come up to the edge of that hair there. Okay. Start coming around here. Nice and gently. Okay. On to the next one. So now I've got this sort of indent here where we can bring a little bit of a paler colour out there. And let's come around the bottom. Just around here. Okay, around to this little tiny one here. Just coming around the edge, but leaving that highlight just on the top there. Okay, let's start on this one in the center now. So I'm going to come through that line just there. I'm going to start working around the edge of that highlight. Just going to clean up this edge here, make it a bit more rounded. Just there, okay. Now what have we got here? I've got a little bit of a highlight there. And we've got a little bit of one there. So we can just pop those in. Just watching where we're going. It's best to leave your highlight area bigger than you need instead of smaller, because you can always make it smaller later. Just keep it bigger in the beginning. Okay, on to the next one. So just coming around, going over what we've already done. And coming in here. And that little bit there. So I'm just going to deepen up that center line slightly. And there's a bit of a, not sure what's going on here. Okay. And then we'll just very gently come around the edge here. Nice and soft. Okay, I'm just going to sharpen my pencil. Okay, and let's move to this one here now. So again, going over what we've done. Looking at the shape of the highlights. A little bit of one there. Just coming around the edge. Building up the colour here. And then nice and soft around the outside. And then here. And this sort of has a bit of a flick in there. And just deepening up that side there. Okay, onto this one at the back. Just gonna start working from that. Now this one's really quite pale, so let's come around the edge of our highlights, nice and pale. Just a little bit of a darker line down the side of that hair, and that coming out there. A little bit of colour coming from the edge here. And then coming out here. Just there. Just going around the edge a little bit there. And come around and start deepening this little bit up. Around the back of that highlight. Into here. Nice and soft. Just there. Okay, and you can see it's starting to take shape. Obviously got more work to do, but it's beginning. Okay, let's take a little bit of this over that darker section at the underneath there. And then we've got a little highlight just in here. Okay, and we can come around the underneath there. A little bit of a highlight just there as well. And then really nice and pale around that edge, really nice and light. And nice and light just there as well. And onto the next one. Okay, going over what we've done and then just starting to work in. Keep a little bit of light there. Working around. Okay, and into this little section here. You're not going to come quite to the edge, just about there. Right, okay. Okay, so now we're going to move to salmon, which is 130. Now it used to be called dark flesh, so if like me you still have the old pencil, don't think that you've got the wrong colour. It's either dark flesh or it's salmon. They've renamed it. So number 130, that's all you need to look out for. Okay, and we're going to start putting this into the areas that are lighter but aren't white. So this will give us a lovely sort of muted highlight colour, and we can always take a little bit of this, oh sorry, we can always take a little bit of white over this as well to just lighten it back up a little if we need to. Okay, so looking out for those pinky toned areas. Okay, and we can take this over our reds as well. So this is coming into our sort of reflected light areas, and those sorts of bits. And don't forget, we can always come back in with our dark colours and deepen things up. So we just want to keep away from our main highlights. Bright highlights. So we can bring some of this around here. Lovely colour. Okay, let's come into this one. So we can take this into that little highlight there and around the edge. And just build up here. There we go. On to the next one. Just coming around the edge there. We can see a little bit of blue in those highlights as well. So we can always come in with a bit of sky blue after, just around the edges. And just add that tinge that we can see. Okay, onto this one. Just coming around, working into all those lighter areas. Okay. Just come down here. Now, I'm not going to come into this one. I'm going to use a different colour for that one. So we'll come to that one in a minute. Let's come around here. Just there. To this one at the bottom. Okay, on to the next one. Bringing it into here. To this one. Again, just stay away from the main highlights, just keep it in the lighter areas. And for this one in the center, we're going to take Coral, which is 131. Slightly lighter. Let's work this around. Again, staying away from the main highlight there. And then I'm going to pop a little bit of this just into that one under there. And this one under here. This one at the edge. Let's have a look. And a bit over here. Okie dokie. Okay, so now we're going to go back to our alizarin crimson and deepen up anything that needs it. So I'm just coming in here. And I'm going to keep some nice contrast around our highlights. And that'll make those lighter areas just pop a little bit. those reflected light bits. So just paying close attention, seeing what we need and where we need it. Okay, let's move around this edge. Bring a bit more depth back here. On to the next one. Okay, just working around a little bit. So just really pay close attention, watch what you're doing. A bit of shadow coming out from that area there. Let's have a look at this underneath bit here. Need a bit more there, a bit more depth. That's nice, where it's just on the turn. Okay, that form's looking a lot better now. Come back over that darker one at the back there, and onto this one. Just need some more of this red. Just around there, fading out from that indent. A bit more in here. Okay, I'm just going to grab a little bit of red violet. I don't want to go quite as dark as the Caput Mortem violet, and just bring a little bit of that just in a few select areas, just the very darkest bits. Okay, let's take a white now. Oh, actually, let's go back to our alizarin crimson, and let's just deepen that little bit up there. Okay, right, let's take our white now, and we're going to look for the places of reflected light, so sort of just here on the edge, and I'm just going to smooth them out. So a little bit here. So all the places that are pinky white, I'm going to come over all of the bottom bit of that one there, pale one, a little paler area here, and just here, and around here, and this just smooths them all out nicely. Let's just grab my dust brush. A bit of light there, light around the edge here, around this edge, have a look. Okay, right, and now I can just come around the edge of some of the highlights. So just there, for example, and there, where it sort of fades in. I'm just gonna just come around the edge just a little bit and just soften them just slightly, just at the edges. There we go. Right, that's looking rather nice. So now I'm just going to take the tiniest amount of sky blue and just put a little tiny flash of this just at the edge of a couple of the highlights. Just gives that little bit of interest. And then I can take my white. Oh, yes, it is my white. Thought I'd picked up the ivory there. And I can just blend it in if I want to. Just add that little tiny hint of blue. That we can just see. It doesn't make that much difference, but when you're seeing it up close, it's more interesting than just looking at just a flat white highlight. There we go. Let's have a look. Can put a tiny little bit around this one as well, just there. There we go. Right, okay, so now over here, what we want to do is we want to take Vista now, which is number 179, and I'm going to start putting in these little bits that we've missed out. So just a couple of little markings in that little hole there. It's going to bring a bit of it into there. Let's have a look. Where have we got? Okay, and now I'm just going to sharpen it on the sanding block just a little bit so it's nice and sharp, and then I'm just going to gently run it over the top of the cream, and you can see it just tints it slightly just inside those little embossed bits we left earlier. Let's have a look. I think I'm pretty happy with that. I'm just going to take a little tiny bit of the dark red and just make a couple of details with that, just mainly around those little hairs, just to really make them stand out. So anywhere that's got this sort of deep impression, or depression rather, so a little bit there, just subtle little details that can make a big difference. Okay, right, and I think we'll leave that one as it is for now. So we're not going to do the little leaves that have sort of, well, the sepals that have gone rather brown and crispy now. We'll leave those and we'll do all of the sepals at the end. So we're going to move on now and we're going to do the mixed colour fruit. Okay, so moving on, let's make a start. Okay, so what we're going to do is exactly the same as we did on this one. We're going to put those little bits in first in cream before we do anything else. Let's just do those three at the bottom there. So again, nice sharp pencil. I've just sharpened mine on the sanding block so it may snap. Okay, pushing in to emboss. Just that bit there. Okay, and then we have a little bit and these here. So these are sort of where the hairs come off. These are the bits that they're attached to. There, on there, little short one there. Bit of one here. We've got one just there. Let's have a look. And we've got one, just a tiny one there. So just that little dip. Okay. Okay, so we're going to start with the reds on this fruit, and we've got 3 reds, this one, and this one, and they're pretty much the same colour. Then we've got a deeper red where it's just turning black, which is a bit more purpley, and then we've got our black. So let's put down 3 lighter reds for the moment. So let's just take off some of the graphite. Again, we don't want to get rid of it all, we just want to leave a little outline that we can just about see. Okay, and I'm going to start with dark red this time, number 225, because these reds are definitely a bit deeper than the one that we've just done. So let's start with this. Okay, so I'm going to start on this this little duplet here, and we've got quite a deep mark there. It comes around the highlights. Just there. And we can just take this into the shadow there. That will eventually be a bit darker, but it's just on there for now. Now we can bring this into this area here and add a nice little bit of depth there and around there. So it's nice to have it in the different stages of growth. We get to do all of the different colours as the blackberries are maturing. Okay, so you can bring a little bit of this down here. A little bit of shade under there. Coming off there. Okay, let's move to this one. And a little bit here, and again coming around the edge. Stroking a little bit of colour here before we get to that highlight. There's a little bit just there. And just seeing what we're working with at the moment. Okay, and then back to this one. So around that little dip, we've got this little bit that comes out there and around, and then we've got that depression. Quite pale here, nice and light pressure. just there. Okay, let's have a look. And we can put a little bit of an outline here. And it's going to be darker anyway. Let's have a look. Right, okay. Right, okay, and now we're going to start putting the darkest areas on the darker red berries. So this one, this one, this one, this, oh no, that one, that one, that one, and that one. Okay, right, so nice sharp caput mortem violet. And we're going to come around our outlines first. So around the edges, got a little bit of a dark edge there. Okay, so working from that little bit there that we put in with the ivory. I've probably said cream again, haven't I? I know I've said cream. There's no cream in this, it's just ivory. So just ignore me if I get it wrong. So just start building up a little bit of the shadow areas. Okay. Let's just see if there's anything else. Yes, we can take it a little bit further out that way. Just there. Now this one here, we've got a lovely bright highlight there. And then a bit of an edge there. Okay, and that's as much as I'm going to do on that one for the moment, because that one does lean a bit more black. Okay, so let's move to the next one. This is slightly sort of in between, so I'm keeping it quite light here. So we've got this bit of depression here, and then there's a bit of a highlight there, and then we've got some colour just coming around here. But we don't want to go too dark. We've got a little bit that sort of comes around there. And then we've got a funny sort of shape here. And that is quite dark up there. I'm just going to bring a very, very light bit of colour around there. Just make sure that edge is as I want it. We've got those two nice highlights on there, and that's let's have a look. Can take that a little tiny bit darker there. Okay, now I'm going to move to the next one, and I'm going to come around the bottom edge. Let's have a look. Okay, let's go to this one. And we've got a little highlight just there, just under that shadow. So let's just bring that out, come down the side, that hair there, and down the other side. Just working up into that. and just bringing a little bit of colour there. Deepening up right underneath there slightly for the shadow. And in here, we're quite dark. And just coming around there. And we can put an outline just there. For that little bit, because this one at the back is very, very dark. Okay, let's have a look. Right, let's come underneath here. Don't worry, we'll come back to that one. Just want to get the main outlines on. Okay, so we've got a little bit of dark here. And then quite a bit of shadow around here. On this side. And we can fade out as we come around there. Quite a bit of shadow under here. And we've got this very dark mark in the center there. Just before the highlight. Let's pop that on. Okay. Neaten up that edge. Deepen up in between there. There we go, that's nice. Okie dokie. Right, so our highlight is around here. So we'll bring this colour in here. Keeping this nice and light because it's not overly dark. And just putting the outline there. Just working in the outline for that shadow there. There's a little bit of a dark nick in there. Coming down and around the highlights. Let's have a look. Okie dokie. Let me just have a good look now, and I think that's all with our Caput Mortem violets. Okay. Right, so on to our darkest sections, and we're going to be using Warm Grey 6 for the very, very dark. So let's start just over here. Let's start with an outline there, working in off that. And then there's a tiny little highlight in that V there. And I'm not taking this all the way around the edge because it's slightly light around there. Okay. Now, we can come in around the edge here and around here. Bit of shadow coming off there. And here. So all of our darkest areas, we want to build them up with this warm grey. We don't want to use black because it's not black. It's a very, very deep purple. So I'm just going to gently come around. Mapping out our highlight. Let's just have a look here. And very gently come around the edge. Just there. We can soften that later on with some whites. Just going to deepen up there a little bit. Just showing the edges. Okay. Right, this one at the back here, it's really dark. It's completely in shadow. There's not really much light at all. So going all the way around the edge. And just gently fill in that section there. Just make sure that our line is correct. Okay, we can come to the back here now. That little, don't forget this little bit there on the other side of that hair. And again, this one's really, really dark. Okay, all right, moving on. Let's do the top one here so we can come around there. Right into that little V. Leaving a little space for a highlight there. And there. So I'm just going to come round and put in the shape for the highlights. Just having a look. Nice and light there. Leave a little bit of reflected light at the edge. Slightly darker here on this bend. And then again, just make sure that that edge is correct. And then we've got that little nick that goes just around there. So let's go back to this one now. Now we can bring in a little bit of dark from the edge. that we can see just there. And this one here, around there, up to there, and then we've got that highlight that comes around here. Okay, just start building up some little bits of colour around that little bit that we put on earlier. Okay. Again, this is another very, very dark one. So I'm just going to add another small layer here, just build that colour up and around the edge. Okay, let's have a look. I'm going to gently work this right up until that bit that we put in. And all the way around the edge there. Deepen that little bit up there. Okay, and just come around the shadow just a little bit more, make a little bit more contrast. Okay, so we're going to go back to the lightest of the red berries, these three here now, and we're going to use Madder, which is number 142, and we're going to start laying some of this down, so over what we've done. So Madder is a really strong pigment, so we need to be a little bit careful with it. Make sure we're keeping it nice and light. It's a bit more pinky. And then I'm just going to start to gently bring it nice and softly into the white spaces just a little bit. Not too much, just a little bit. So just start to get a bit of definition here, what's going on. Okay, let's move to the next one. Just, every time I go around, I'm just cleaning up these edges, making sure they're correct. And under here. It's one of my favourite colours, Madder is. I love Madder. Okay, let's come around that highlight there. Just coming all the way around the bottom, that little bit there. Okay, on to this one here. So we've got that bit that came off there. Just nice and gently. Just working around the highlight really nice and softly. Just deepening that bit there a little bit. let's put the edge there. Now I'm just going to find my Tombow, because I've gone into that a little bit and I didn't want to. So I'm just going to take a little bit away, if it'll remove. Just there. Okay. So I'm just going to refine it now. Pull some dark from it and leave that little bit of reflected light there. And it's this edge, I want this edge slightly darker. Just there. Let's have a look. Okay. And we want some madder on this one as well, because this one is again a slightly different colour to any of the others that we've done. This one's sort of a mix. So bring a little bit of that in there. And I'll take a little bit of it there. Okay. Right, over to our alizarin crimson now. We're going to stay working on those berries, and this is going to bring that vibrant red that we can see. So let's start working this in nice and softly over what we've done, and then just nice and gently into the light areas. Okay, starting to get some form. Let's have a look. It's looking nice, just deepen that line there. Okay, and then coming around into the next one. Keeping our highlight nice and bright. Just there. And just softly working into that lighter area there. Can afford to add a little bit more colour here. Okay, let's go up to the next one. And start to work in. Gently around that highlight. Just there. Okay, now we're going to leave that one now because we're going to put some red violet into that one in a bit. So, but I am going to take the red violet now, and I am just going to very gently deepen up the very deepest markings on the three berries that we've just been, the three sections that we've just been working on. So just here. Okay. Right, we'll finish these 3 off now before we do any others. Just going to take my dark red again, and I'm just going to enhance that line there. Just make sure everything's correct. Okay, and now I'm going to take a little bit of pink carmine and start working just a little bit of that in. Can softly put a little bit in at the edges of the highlights as well. Just there. Not too much of this colour, just a little bit. Just in the reflected light areas so the white's got something to blend. Okay, so let's go to our white now. And I'm just going to bring a little bit in here, here, around this edge here, just a little bit there, just here, here. Okay, looking nice. Little tiny bit at the back there. And then I'm just going to blur the edges of the highlights just in a couple of places, just there. Darker red again, and just really emphasising anything that I think needs a bit more contrast. There. Just in there. Okay, so second layer on the purples. Let's use our red violet, which is 194. And we'll start with this one down here, and we're going to work over the top of that Caput Mortem violet, over the shadow areas that we've already done, leaving a tiny little bit of a highlight there, and then start to work into the light areas. Just a little bit, got a bit of depth around that highlight there and behind it. So very gently now, lightening the pressure, coming around. So there's just a hint of it there. Okay. On to the next one. I need to adjust the shape of this, so I'm just going to tidy up my edge. There we go. Okay, and again, let's go over what we've already done. So coming up towards the shadow, keeping it, sorry, the highlights, keeping it light as we go around there. A little bit darker up that side where I've got that little flush around the edge. Coming around all the way. You've got a couple of smaller highlights here. And we've got this little sort of mark there. And then just very gently fading a little bit of this into that highlight at the edge there. Okay, let's come to this one now where we put the madder down. We're going to bring this along that dark edge where we put some caput mortuum, not too much, just a bit. So we've got these dark pieces. Just going to take a little bit of this over the madder, nice and gently. And over here, nice and light. Working up towards the highlight now there. And then we've got an area around that little bit of ivory that we put in. Let's create that edge there. And we've got a bit of dark here, so just go over that and around the back. Just going to deepen that edge up a little bit more there. Okay, let's have a look. Just want to make sure that everything is correct. Okay, this top one here. Again, let's go into the very dark areas first. Just there. Around here. And now I'm going to start to work this in to the white space. Nice and gently. And let's just come around this edge as well. Just there. Okie dokie. We're going to bring a bit of this into this one now, because this one isn't quite fully black and it's got this purple tone to it as well. A little bit paler than the rest. Okay. Just there. And we've got this one at the bottom. Oh, and we've also got that one as well. So let's just deepen up that little section there, and we can take this to the end of that now. Deepening this area. So I've got a decent pressure that I'm using here in the dark spots. This one. And now I'm lightening my pressure again to come around. Okay, not forgetting our highlight there. And a bit of the darker edge on this side. Just there. Okay, I'm going to go back to my caput mortuum violet for just a second, and I'm going to come into that little one once more. And here, right in that very dark recess there. Just want to create a bit more depth, that's better. Okie dokie. Okay, so we're going to move to burnt carmine now, which is number 193. Let's start in this one again. So let's take a little bit of this over that red violet and bring it now into the white space, and it just adds that nice touch of warm pinkish purple that we can just see shining through. Bringing that in there. Okay, over here now I think we're actually going to need a little bit of a yellow tone as well, just around this edge. So I'm going to have to go and grab something in a second. Okay, just making sure again all the time that these edges are nice and sharp there where the shadows are. Okay, moving up, I'm going to take this burnt carmine over everywhere aside from the highlights, so into those nice areas of reflected light. Right, okay, I confused myself there thinking I'd actually left that as a highlight, but I didn't. I left it for the burnt carmine. Just had a bit of a moment there. Okay, so working around. Coming around here. Into the darker bit there, and around the top. Okay, into the next one. Just going to shorten this highlight just a little bit. We're going to bring a tiny faint bit of pink in there to blend with some white. There we can see it just here. Okay, and we've just got this hint of it just there, and then down into the bottom there. Lovely. Up to this top one. And over to that one there at the back now. Okay, so let's go and sharpen our white. Okay, so I've just been and grabbed a light yellow ochre, which is number 183, I think. It's when it's gold like this and the light's shining on it. I can't see it very well, but it's light yellow ochre anyway, and it'll be listed. So we're just going to put a couple of little hints of this in. I want a little bit of it here. There's just little areas that need warming up. A little touch of it there. Little touch of it here. Along there. We're going to have a very slight bit of it on this edge here. Just there. I'm actually going to bring just the tiniest bit of it just in there. Okay, so let's go and let's take our white now that we've sharpened, and let's start to just blend some of the edges. So I'm just going to bring a little bit of reflected light there, and just around here. I want it a little bit paler just there, and I'm going to blend the edge of that highlight while I'm at it, and just pop a little bit of one there. I'm going to bring a little bit around here, and I'm going to blend the edge of this just there. I'm gonna have to bring some blue into this one, but I want this to be blended. So let's just blend those edges out a little bit. This one as well. And this one. Okay, and then we're going to go back to our red violet and just amp up anything we need to. So I want a little bit more depth on here. So I'm just going to pop that in. So just putting a few darker marks in places. Definitely want to go a little bit darker here. That's going to be taken care of when we've got all the colours down for that very dark bit there. Bring a little bit more of that in there. Let's have a look, that's looking quite nice. Okay, and now let's go to our blue, our sky blue. Very light pressure, we've just got this hint of it in that highlight there. Little bits of it coming up from the bottom in here. Little touch of it at the bottom there. And let's have a look. A little bit there. And we've got this sort of little area there. Okay, and if you want to, you can just softly blend that with your white. Okay. Right, I think we're looking okay. I'm just going to take the warm grey for a minute. Let me just give it a sharpen. And I'm just going to add a few even deeper areas to these now. So I'm going to bring a little bit of warm grey 6 here. And this isn't going to alter our tones. It's just going to deepen up. We really need a bit more depth in certain areas, just there. I mean, we have got to put the black duplicates on, but let's just add a little bit more depth while we can. That's looking nice. Even gonna take a tiny little bit of it right into that corner there. Just make that pop a little bit more. Lovely. Right, okay, let's finish off the black bits. Okay, so for the second layer on the black duplicates, we're going to use mauve, which is 249. And we're going to go over the top of our warm grey. Now, we are going to have to bring the grey back over the top of this and do it a couple of times to achieve the depth that we want. And then come in with some caput mortuum as well, just to really get that rich purple, reddy black. And that's the thing about mixing your own blacks. They've got so much more depth and interest than just, you know, straight a straight black pencil. So that's what we want. So we are just building up on what we've already got. We can bring a few little wisps of that in there. But yeah, we want this to be really rich, really complex. Not just a flat black. We want other tones in this as well. So it's going to look garish in the beginning. Just going to neaten that up there before I continue. And of course we can go around that edge with our white. Okay, got that lovely bit of shadow there. Okay, up to the next, actually no, let's come to this one. This one's extremely dark. So over that one, and we may as well hit this one at the bottom as well while we're here. Again, extremely dark, so just want a nice layer of that there. Okay, right, onto this one. So again, let's go over what we've done. So a little bit of highlight there. Let's just make sure that edge is correct. Let's have a look. Okay, I'm going to bring a tiny little bit of this in at the top of this one here, just to deepen it. We can go back over that with some red violet in a minute, or some Caput Mortem violet. Let's just get this down. Okie dokie. I'm just going to grab the Caput Mortem violet and I'm going to bring it into that edge where I put the purple down. Take the colour back to red and just over here. It just adds that extra bit of depth that we want. Okay. Right, and back to our warm grey now. And I'm just going to bring this over the top of the purple, keeping this layer nice and light. We're just building colour here. Okay, into that shadow. And again, over here. Let's just deepen up that shadow area behind there. Just a little bit. Down to here, into this bit. So there's not, we're just building saturation now, nice and gently. Okay, Caput Mortem violet, let's bring some of that in now. Alter the tone. So just bringing it all the way across, everywhere that we want it. It's adding lots more depth. Down in here. Okay, going back to my mauve. So this rich black is just all about just building up until we achieve that lovely colour that we want, which we are getting there now. taking some little bits into the highlights now. Okay, let's really deepen this one up. And this one. And then one last tiny bit of warm grey. I'm just taking into these very pale areas so that the white's got something to blend. Just in there. Got some lovely form going on here now. Right, okay, over to our white. And I'm just going to start to blend at the edge there. And of course, we can go back. I'm going to blend this little bit here and around the edge of the highlight and just drag a little bit of that purple in there so that it looks nice. And around the edge here. Again, let's just drag a little bit of it through there. Lovely. Edge of this one on this bottom side. Around here. Nice. Okay. Let's just have a look. And then I'm just going to go back to the grey and just, actually I'm just going to sharpen it on the sanding block before I do anything else. And I'm just going to make sure every line is as deep and as dark as I want it, where I want it. Nice, okay, quite pleased with that. So take a good look, make sure you are happy with everything, see if you need any adjustments. I'm enjoying this, I quite like it, so yes, I'm quite happy with that. Okie dokie. Okay, so let's move to the last blackberry and then we'll start putting in the little bits of sepals and the stem. So again, let's pop on our little bits of ivory first. So just dab away, put that graphite. There we go, that'll do. I haven't got to worry too much with this one because it's so dark. Then it won't matter too much if there's a little bit of graphite left. So let's pop these in. This one's curved over slightly, and then we've got this one here. It's a little tiny bit sticking out there. Got one down here. This one here, this one here, and let's have a look. A little bit coming out of that one at the end. And a little bit coming out of this one. Okay, and one thing we didn't do, let's go back and do that now, is I forgot to run the vista through the bits up here. Okay, so I'm just going to quickly pop that in, just there. There we go. Right, okay, so back to where we were. So warm grey 6, number 275, and let's start putting in all of our shadow areas. So you should know exactly where we're going, what we're doing now. So let's have a good look. It's coming around first. Making sure to lighten the pressure wherever we think we need to. Okay, there's one. So let's just keep working around. Quite dark under there, under that little bit there. So just look for the shape of the shadows. The highlights. Well, you can look for the shape of the shadows as well. But we want to make sure that our highlights are left. Let's go around there. Bit of a darker bit there. And here. Just there. Okay. Now I've got quite a lot of depth here. So let's just work out where this needs to be. And it's here. It's under this one. Just there. Okay, and let's work round. So we've got a couple of highlights. We've got one there. They're not prominent white, but we do want to work around them. Okay. And let's get to our highlights. Don't be afraid to go over those embossed bits because they will stay cream. Ivory, oh gosh, doing it again. So you don't have to worry. Sort of little heart-shaped highlight in that one, isn't there? And then we've got that little bit of depth there. Flicks up like that. Okay. Bit deeper here. On to the next one. Moving over. It's around here. I've got our little bit that juts out there, so let's come around that. And then I'm just going to put that deep line in there. Okay. Right, so our highlight here. Get a little bit of a highlight at the top there. Bit of depth there. And a little bit of depth just there. Okay, now we have got some little bits that hang over on here, but I haven't put them in specifically because I wanted to make it look more pleasing. So that's a little bit of artistic license there. You decide what you want on and what you don't. And I don't want it just on this one when it's not on the others. So that's that. Okay, just going to sharpen this. Okay, sharpen that. So let's continue. And we're going to come down here and just pop in this shadow directly underneath there. And around this edge here. Okay, let's just grab my dust brush. Don't want to smudge that. It's all quite dark in here, so we can bring a little bit of shadow there. And then we want to leave a slither of reflected light around there. So let's just work our grey in nice and gently. And up here. Okay, leaving our highlight area, of course. Just there. We can extend that edge a little bit so we can see it's slightly thicker. So let's just do that now. I do apologise, it's my phone. Someone's at the Ring doorbell and it just keeps going. So sorry about that. Okay, let's come down here now. So we've got our bit of shadow there. And here. Let's come around the highlight. We've got our little bit of our little sort of hairy thing saved. I'll have to find out what that structure is actually properly called. It's a little hairy thing. It certainly isn't called that, is it? So I'll endeavour to find out. It's not a little hairy thing. Okay, and onto this central one, coming around section first. Deepening up slightly towards the bottom on that edge. Again, we've got some reflected light around there. And a couple of highlights. Okie dokie. Into here. This one. Some deep shadow here. Around there. With a little bit of light. So just keep looking at your shapes. Pay attention to the reference. and just keep working round. Just going to pop that edge there in. Okay, and then we have that little area there, that shadow comes around here. Okay, I'm just going to sharpen this again. Okay, we're all sharpened now. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to pop this one down here in, so we can get an idea of how much depth we need, because this is the darkest one. We have got that little highlight in there, so let's leave that. This one is really dark, so let's just make sure our line's nice and correct. I'm going to leave a little flash through there to put some blue in, and let's come around here. And I'm just looking to see what I want to do here. So you've got to really study what's going on. And it's quite dark around the edge, this one. Okay, so it's much better if you can sort of get your darkest darks down first, as you can see where things are going to pop and how much more depth you need, etc. Right, okay, let's go back to this one here now. So we can see we've got some lovely shadow under there, and that comes forwards like so, and then we can work around our highlight from there. Right down towards the bottom, taking it lighter. A little bit of drama down there. Let's neaten our lines up. Okay. I'm going to just whisper this around the edge, nice and gently. Right, there we go. Right, okay, so let's go to our mauve and let's start laying some of that down. Now, as well as the mauve, we're also going to be laying down some indigo in this one, because we can see that it has much more of a blue tone than the previous berry. So let's just start going over all of our warm grey. The good thing about mauve is it doesn't alter tones too much, just like the warm grey. They sit underneath and they just work really well. So I'm going to shorten this a little bit, and this is actually darker here than I originally first thought, so I'm just going to deepen that edge there. Like that. There we go. That's better. So always look for little adjustments, because sometimes when you've been staring at things for a long time, you don't quite see everything correctly. So always stand back and, you know, take a good look at things. Make sure that you've got everything spot on. Okay, let's work. Let's come up here. Just lay this down. And again, all we're doing with this mauve is just building saturation. I'm going to keep it nice and light on this one, because this is the one where we can really see that blue. Okay, working over. Now I've just covered up that little bit of reflected light by accident, but it's okay because I can bring it back later on with my white, so I'm not too overly concerned about it. I just need to remember it's there and remember, you know, what I've done. Let's jump over this side now. Taking a bit more care there so I don't make the same mistake again. Got that shape there. Okay, into this one here, which is our dark one. And even though it's dark, we still want that little bit of light there. Okay. Right, so let's add one more layer of our warm grey before we start to bring in some of that dark indigo. Okay. I'm taking it up to the edges in those few of those areas. Still want to leave some light though. And now I can take this opportunity to make sure that that area that looks overly purple goes back to grey. Okay. And let's really bring some depth in there. Making sure that we've got that bit of light there at the bottom. Our shadow here. And just working around. Now if we put the blue on and it looks overly blue, we can mute it down with our warm grey. So we don't have to worry about that either. Just getting a little bit more of this on. Bring that little heart shape back. Okay. Just look at that bit there, shorten that. There we go, into here. So this one we're sort of making up as we go along because we can't see it, but we can imagine, judging from the light everywhere else, how it's going to hit. So and something else that I wanted to talk about, a lot of people ask sort of, you know, how do you know whether to use coloured pencil or watercolour? How do I decide which medium I'm going to use? Well, when I look at something, I normally just instinctively know, right, that's going to be better in, you know, in coloured pencil, or that's going to be better in watercolour. Here, you could quite happily do either. You could with soft fruits and berries. I'm quite happy to work in either. The thing that sways it for me to coloured pencil is that you've got that little bit more control. So for example, in these tight little corners and you know, those little thin structures, because we can get such a fine point, you've just got that little bit more control than you have with watercolour. And that is all it is, really. I'd be quite more than happy to paint these in watercolour, but it is just fun. Coloured pencil is very fun, and it's fast becoming my favourite medium, I have to say. There are certain things that I do think look better in watercolour, especially sort of flouncy flowers, things like gladioli, for example, or what we're painting this month in watercolour, rhododendron, anything with really soft, light, airy petals, anything really delicate. I tend to think that looks better in watercolour, because watercolour has those properties that just, you know, make it look special when it comes to things like that. But yeah, that is what that's the only reason that I chose to do the blackberries in coloured pencil, is that we've just got that bit more control, and that's it really. So right, anyway, that is that layer finished. I'm just going to sharpen my dark indigo and we'll pop that down. Okie dokie, right, let's begin. So let's work around, and what we can do is we can pull a little bit of this into the highlights so that we can blend it in with our whites, because you can just see faint touches of it in the highlights and in the reflected light. So let's bring it up there. And to this one, which is still looking a little bit too purple for my liking. So let's alter that tone. Lovely. Much better. Bring a little bit further in there. That highlights a little bit too. There we go, that's better. Okay, into our shadow area and over our reflected light. Take this gently around the side, and again we can bring a little bit in here because we're going to pull it up with the white and blend it out. Start going around the top there. Bring some into the bottom of that highlight there, around the edge. Okay, let's come into this dark one here. Just there. Lovely. Now you might think that the blue looks too blue. You might want to put a bit more of the grey down, and that's up to you. You decide when you've seen how it looks. Once we've done the highlights, etc. If you don't like the look of it, just add another little bit of grey. But all we're doing in this is just swapping out the caput mortuum violet for the dark indigo. Let's come down here. Okay, it's starting to look nice. Let's bring it in here and take a little bit over that highlight there. Let's come to our outer one, just there, and this one. So must remember to bring that back with our white, bit of blue into the highlights. And again down here, and then we'll, right, okie dokie, let's sharpen our whites. Right, okay, white's all sharpened, so let's go and start pulling in some bits of light and blending some blue up into those highlights there. That looks nice. Okay. So let's just work around them all. And then we can go and add back any dark bits that we feel we might want later on. Oh, we could even add in a little bit of sky blue maybe. Okay, just come around the edge here. It's lovely when you use the white, you can see that blue now that's been pulled in, and it gives it that real shiny appearance. That's why you need the high contrast with those really dark shadows as well. Let's pull some all the way around that front center one. A little bit of light there and there. That little bit there. And then we'll pull our blue up into here. Okay, just keep working round. Just there. and we had that little bit there that we had to pull back. A little bit there. Right, okie dokie, let's just go back one last time to warm grey 6. I'm just going to sharpen it on the sanding block and get some really nice tight lines in there now. So some really nice shadow lines that'll make it all pop. Okay. If you feel you need any more blue or anything else, then you can go ahead and add that. I'm not going to. I'm going to stick with how it looks because I really do like it. Just maybe darken up here a tad more. Sharpen those lines up, make sure everything's nice and rounded. Nothing's flat or square looking. Those nice high contrast shadows to make the highlights stand out really nicely. Just altering the shape of that slightly. A little bit depth down here, a little bit more. Let's have a look at the bottom. We've got that nice deep shadow there. So make more of a thing about that. A little bit more depth there. Right, okay, and I think that no, a little bit more, just going to deepen up here as I'm looking at it. A little bit more depth there. Right, now I'm happy. Okay, so I'm going to leave the berries alone for a moment and we'll go and work on the rest of the bits. Right, okay, let's start working on these little sepals. So we'll start with this one here. And I'm going to start with the vista, making sure it's nice and sharp. And we've just got this little curved edge at the back there. So I'm just going to pop that in first. And then we're going to come around here because we've got this little lip here where it turns. And we're just going to start putting down a bit of shadow there. A little bit of shadow in here. Now less is more in this case. We don't want to go crazy. I'm just putting down a few markings as such. And then we're going to be blending this with our ivory. So everything's going to be nice and pulled out. And we've got the ivory edge there. I'm going to go back to the vista and just give that a little edge there like that. Okay. Yeah, we do, you know, you don't want to go too mad with this. There's not much that we can see that's going on here. It's just about getting the shape right, really, more than anything else. And these little sepals. Okay, I'm going to move to the next one. Let's just take that bit there. Okay, I'm going to bring in these little ridges at the side. I've got one here and one here. I'm going to take a little bit of walnut brown that I can see just at the tip there, and take a little bit of that in there, and again I'll start blending that out with some ivory. The ivory's got that warmth, but not too much like cream. It's just a lovely, nice neutral ivory. And then let's go back to our Bista. Just bend this out a little bit. Just there. Give it a bit of a curve. Just here. And just make that tip slightly darker there. Okay. And then the last one down here, just remove that. Oops, dropping everything. Okay, so here we've got this edge. Just there. Oh, once again my doorbell's going. Someone else can answer it, and we're just going to blend that out again like that. Now I've got a bit of a darker edge here, so I'm going to use the walnut and just pick that out nice and gently. And we've got a couple of little hairs, so I'm just going to pull those down and come along there with that. And then again, just going to come inside here, a little bit more walnut. So just adjusting until I'm happy. Okay, there we go. Right, let's move to this one now. So let's take away that bit of graphite there. Now these little sepals are slightly grayer than they are brown, so we're going to use a little bit of our warm grey 6, but I want you to keep it really nice and light. So we're just going to put an outline just up there, and then we're going to add this little bit of shadow in here, really nice and light. Don't want anything overkill. Got a little bit of shadow just on the corners there where it folds. And I've got a couple of veins in here, but we'll do those in a second when we've pulled this out. Then we'll just bring a slight edge up there. Okay, now let's go over that with our ivory. And just pull it out. Just here. And now we're going to take our whites and just go over that area there, and then put the ivory over the top of that, just so that it goes a little bit paler, so you can see the difference there. Okay, put a little bit of ivory there, and again let's go over that with our whites. Okay, let's do the other one. Now this one sort of curves over at the end there, comes back on itself. So let's put our little fold in, a little bit of shadow in here where it bends, a little bit of an outline there. Okay, and again let's go over with our ivory and just blend that out. really is, you know, less is more with this, with these little sepals. Let's go over with our white just to knock that bit back a little bit. There we go. Okay, I'm going to go to the walnut brown now. And I'm just going to put in a couple of tiny veins that can be seen just along there, just to add a little bit of interest. And we'll put a little marking through there. Right, okay, let's move up to the top one and do our last little sepal. So this one, well, it's sort of two. Let's just remove the graphite, and then all we've got left to do then is those little tiny bits of stem. Okay, so here, this first one comes up like so. Making sure not to take it all the way to the edge of the blackberry, because we've got that reflected light, we don't want to go over it. So make sure to leave that edge there. Okay, and then the back one, it comes around and the tip is very, very dark. We've got a little bit of shadow just down there. A little bit of a fold here. Okay, let's go over that with our ivory and blend. Just there. Take our Warm Glow 6 and deepen this tip up because it's really quite dark there. And then I'm just going to go over this area with the white. Okay, right, so let's have a look at those little bits of stem. So they are a little bit of a strange colour, so we're going to start here with our bister, and then we're going to bring some, believe it or not, burnt carmine into it. They've got quite a reddy tone to them. So let's start with our bister. Shadow on the underside. So we're going to bring it along nice and gently and really release the pressure as we get to the top side. And then I'm going to just deepen up a little bit further there. You can put a tiny little bit of an edge on here. Okay. And again, down here, I do the same. But here, our stem is going to be lit from, well, the highlight area is going to be the middle. I was going to say lit from the middle, but it's our highlight area. It's down the center of the stem. So let's just pop that there. Okay. I'm going to take some burnt carmine, and we're just going to bring a tiny little bit of redness to this. Not too much, just a little bit there. Just give it that hint of pink. And here. And coming over there. And then we can pull a little bit up the top arm there. And now back to our ivory. And let's just blend that in a little bit. So you can take it all the way over. We're going to go back over this. Just want it to soften. Okay, back to our burnt carmine. And concentrate this just on the darker shadow areas there. Just giving that hint of pink. Okay. Right, okay then, so having a good look at it, I'm really happy with how mine's turned out. If you want to add anything deeper, sort of, you know, any of the really deep shadows, if you want to just enhance them a bit more, then you can go ahead and do that. But I'm going to leave mine well alone, and we'll call this one done. And I hope you've enjoyed it. I hope that you've learned something, and if you do the project, then please tag me in it because I love to see them. And until next time, take care, and I'll see you soon. Bye bye.